The Richest Merchant and the Empty Vault, a Persian fable. Here's what most of us believe. The person with the most stuff wins. We think real security comes from stacking up wealth. The fuller the vault, the safer we are. But this story flips that idea on its head. Sometimes the greatest wealth comes from having an empty vault and a full heart. In the ancient Persian trading city of Isfahan, there lived a merchant named Farhad. The guy was loaded, but he treated his fortune like a terrified secret. He couldn't let anyone see. Farhad had one obsession in life: building the fullest vault in the world. He was paranoid about running out, convinced that spending money was the same as losing it. Every night, he'd check his safe, count his coins, add more to the pile. But no matter how much he accumulated, he felt this gnawing emptiness inside. Farhad had no friends. That's because he believed sharing was the same as losing. Meanwhile, there was this old baker in town named Hakim who was always broke. Yet somehow, his home was constantly filled with laughter, neighbors dropping by, warmth spilling out into the street. Farhad used to mock him.
Hakim, you're such a fool. You're throwing away your wealth every day, giving bread to people. Real wealth means locking up your vault and guarding it with your life.
Hakim would just smile.
Farhad, your vault's full of gold, but your future's empty. True wealth isn't about holding on, it's about letting go.
Farhad didn't get it. He worked even harder to pile up money, and eventually, his vault became the biggest and fullest in the entire city. He was convinced he'd finally achieved perfect wealth. Then one year, a devastating famine hit the kingdom. The price of grain shot through the roof, and suddenly all that gold Farhad had hoarded? Completely useless. You can't eat gold. Farhad opened his vault and tried to buy food, but nobody would sell grain for his precious metal. His greatest treasure had become worthless rocks. Farhad started starving. Despair set in. His vault was bursting with gold, but it couldn't save him. He was the richest man in Isfahan, yet he was the first to go hungry. Just before he collapsed from weakness, Farhad stumbled past Hakim's house. The old baker's place was still poor as ever, but there was a line of neighbors outside his door, all waiting for warm bread. Farhad was stunned. How was Hakim, the guy he'd mocked for years, still giving things away? With the last bit of strength he had, Farhad asked,
Hakim, how do you still have something to share during this famine? Didn't you lose everything by giving it all away?
Hakim handed him a piece of warm bread.
Farhad, I didn't save gold in my vault. I saved something better. I built up trust and love with my neighbors. Every day, I gave them bread. And when the famine hit, they brought me the grain seeds they'd been saving, so I could keep baking. What they shared wasn't gold, it was survival itself.
Hakim's empty vault had actually been full all along, full of the entire village's trust. Every loaf of bread he'd given away had come back to him as insurance against disaster. Farhad, on the other hand, had lost the most important things people entrust because he'd been too afraid to lose his gold. His full vault had bought him nothing but isolation and ruin. Finally, Farhad understood. He opened his vault, took out everything he had left, bought grain seeds, and started giving them to his neighbors. His vault became empty, but his heart and his life filled up with something worth so much more gratitude, connection, and people who actually cared whether he lived or died. For the first time in years, he wasn't anxious. We do the same thing in our own lives. We chase after possessions and treat sharing like a loss we can't afford. But everything we're clutching onto, it's just stuff that can disappear in a heartbeat. So here's a challenge. Try opening your full vault today, whatever that means for you. Give something away. Share what you have. Experience the joy of letting go. What you give will come back to you as the most secure investment you'll ever make. The greatest wealth is what you've given away. That's it. Thanks for the like and subscribe.